There is much fear abroad in the land. Books have been written about fear and how to overcome it. Fear seems to be a problem to everyone. There are no fearless people. Well, after all of these years that I've spent wrestling with one sense of fear after another, I finally learned, that fear is not something that can be put off nor put away. It isn't something that one is healed of. Rather, fear, like a shadow, is something to be understood. And then, when it's finally understood, the sting goes out of it. Mortal mind is fear itself. That is, the sense of an identification as a mortal man, or as an entity separate and apart from all, and from all other people and things, is not just the root of fear, or the cause of fear, but is all there is to fear itself. Now, truth doesn't end belief, but it takes the power from it. The shadow and the shadow's validity doesn't end when we find the tree itself which casts the shadow. But our attention suddenly is tree, not shadow. Where before we gave the shadow great power and importance and much attention, in fact all of our attention, when the tree is discovered, the tree is given attention and the shadow is understood. And all of the former notions of the shadow's validity and power and importance are gone out of the shadow. And the shadow is there, fully understood, and then seen to be the means by which the tree was discovered. Then we see that fear and its ally anguish are the means by which fearlessness is finally discovered. The shadow, you see, leads straight away to the tree. The power given the belief of an ego identity, an ego, the power given, is removed upon the recognition of the truth which reveals that God is the only identity in all the universe. And that this life, this very self-same awareness, right now, presently, hopefully, considering these words, is the life divine, the awareness of God. Identity, then, is God's self-comprehension. And the personal sense of identity, the me sense, is the shadow, the antipode, the nadir, the inverted image of the real identity. In all ways, the personal sense, the me sense, mimics God in reverse, diametrically opposing, exactly as a shadow mimics the tree. We take God to be the warp and woof of identity, to be the all in all of this very awareness, listening to these words. Now this doesn't end the belief of a mortal identification, a mortal selfhood, but it removes the attention given it. It removes the sting and the power of believing that it's all important. Then, asserting God to be all, and this life, right here, right now, to be God's self-awareness happening, we look round about and behold wonder and beauty of a solipsistic, holistic oneness everywhere. Well, how do I know this is so? Because I live it so. I observe it so. I feel it so. I be it so. And it is so. Well now, does all of this end the belief and dream of mortality, the belief and dream of material existing? Well, it does not. But the power of the belief is ended. Everything is seen for the grand purpose it serves, even the belief and dream. Belief to make the truth plain upon the tables. Dreams leading straight away to dreamlessness. Just exactly as the shadow leads straight away to the tree. Identity doesn't end tangibilities, seasons, and cycles. Those cycles unfold within the sun's light, and because the sun is. Light knows more than any viewpoint looking at light could ever hope to know. But the process of looking at light doesn't end when one takes identity to be light. I tell you, we come back home to simplicity, to a gentle childlike simplicity that is already spread over the whole face of the earth. We come back home to a gentleness of God presence that doesn't have to be consciously known, that doesn't have to be articulated with a lot of words, and doesn't have to be lived in any special set way. No pattern of praying, no pattern of going to church, no pattern of meditating. It's a simplicity infinitely more simple than that. It's a listening, a being, a listening to the still small voice within, to the divine imprint within, which is present right here, right now, to this awareness that listens, that is present here, as surely as it's present for the little birdlings out there that are ricocheting around this late April day, making nests everywhere, intuitively making nests, instinctively doing it, listening to a divine imprint with no knowledge whatever what the nest is for, that ultimately it will hold an egg. The divine imprint is already here as the awareness we are. The God imprint is all that's real here. And the child is here right now, doing nothing wrong, guilty of nothing, having made no mistakes. And that child is the awareness that listens to these words, not the possessor of the awareness of these words, not the owner of awareness, but the awareness itself that listens, the life that listens. The great philosophies of the world and their enlightened spokesmen are all agreed on one point. At least they're agreed on one point. That point being that life is the nearest approximation to God, to deity, than any other human concept, or any other concept that humanhood is capable of recognizing. Further, the essences of all enlightened instruction that I know anything about, however it's ever been written, declare that God and God-life are synonymous. That God and God-life, this life, are one. Okay, then, the intellect of us asks this question. Well, all right, if God is all, and God is life, well, what is this funeral all about? Well, the funeral isn't for the dead. A funeral is the celebration of life. There is no body being buried. Every body is a resurrection going on. It's life, not death. Death, like a shadow, serves only to make life more clearly apparent. The birds are nesting all around Woodsong here. They're building their nests everywhere. Well, why are they doing it? Are they conscious of an intellectual activity that makes sense? Or are they just living the divine imprint within? You know, Beethoven, we're told, heard wonderful melodies in his head. Well, clearly he did. We can listen to them. They're everywhere on record now. But he'd hear a wonderful melody in his head, and then he did a very strange thing. He'd take a pitcher of cold water, and he'd pour it over his head. Then he would seat himself at the piano, and with his head dripping, he'd try to capture the mental memory of that melody and make it tangible. But now, why did he do this? Did he do it so that others could hear and enjoy the same mental memory? Or did he just do it because he couldn't keep from it? Well, it seems to me that the action done without motive is the action that's enduring. And the action that's done with grand motive in mind, even though the motive may be so wonderful as to help all humanity, isn't the lasting wonder that love just simply lived is. I've heard the statement that all teachers have feet of clay. Well, I think that's a pretty correct statement, but, it's correct only to a point. The appearance of teachers with faults, that appearance is necessitated by the fact that one is being forced to discover the immaculate teacher within, wherein there are no faults. If we put value into something that has no value, the time comes when that mistake is discovered. And at that time, the external teacher appears to have feet of clay. If we've been putting great value in that teacher, suppose the external teacher, suppose that one has been shouting from the rooftops that the real teacher of eternal value is within. Within. When one finds the internal teacher, the reality within, does he see feet of clay on the so-called external model? No, not at all. The teacher within us makes one thing very clear concerning teachers. Their relative value, their rightness or wrongness concerning the points that they would tell others about, and all of their foibles, good or bad, are not theirs and do not lie with them. The teacher within insists, rather, that what appear to be their feet of clay exist solely in the intellectual view of them. Soul reality, or the single reality, the holistic reality, has no need of teachers or teachings. And where this is understood, teachers and everything else, all things else, are seen as images within awareness, as viewpoints within identity, each serving their purpose perfectly. And the one who would make this clear to us, the one who would dare make this clear to us within awareness, is usually the very one whom we would lash out at most mercilessly. There is an old new meadow. There's an old new meadow. And it's full of soft grass. It has flowers growing in it. And it lies just beyond the fence there. Flowers there, and children to explore them. There is a pathway, one child wide, that leads to my meadow. It's only a blink away from the ordinary state of mind. It's as close as breathing, as near as a smile, as available as a sigh of relief. And what is so remarkable and wonderful about this meadow is that each of us are destined, certainly, to awaken and find that we are already there, and that we are already being the meadow and everything in it. Now, to find the words that will convince the intellect of the world that this is so, it's well nigh impossible. But I think I'll go pour a pitcher of ice water on my head and make another stab at it. Over the years, I have been told by a lot of folks to go soak my head, especially the academe, especially the ministers, theologians, metaphysicians who rely on the Bible as being the sole authority, or the primary authority, or the infallible authority. The Bible is an intellectual presentation of words, albeit often aimed beautifully at the heart, and albeit many times making reference to the holistic God within, no less than the Christ light itself announces that the kingdom of heaven is within and without. The ultimate authority is God. God within the heart of each of us. Now, when one turns within to the divine authority that's there, that doesn't mean that we're turning into our old selfhood, that we are turning to the self of us, that is, the human sense of self. There is no salvation in that. The heart within is the ultimate authority only when it is not mingled with the me sense, the deceiver, the deceitful one, the prince of this world, the me sense, which would say, the heart is mine. This authority is now being given to me that I might be God. The futility of trying to be God. Listen, God is light. Light is a beautiful synonym for what God is. Now listen again. Lucifer, the devil. The word Lucifer means the bearer of light, the one who carries light. And that Lucifer was thrown out of heaven, damned to an eternal darkness. Lucifer is the idea that we are the bearers of life. Lucifer is the idea that we are the custodian of this awareness right here, right now. Never was there a bearer of life. Never a bearer of light. We are life. We are light. And we let go the Lucifer, the deceitful nature of us that would say, this is my life to do with as I please. This is my destiny to live as I choose. We let all that foolishness go just to be life, to be the light that is the Godhead shining. How we explain the simplicity of already, the totality of God, the allness of God, the childlikeness of God already present as all that's real, how this is explained to the intellect of us that wants everything to be reasonable and logical and make sense, is the great mystery. And those who have been blessed to find it, and of course we've all been blessed to find it because we're all being it, but to find it and recognize it and know it, seem to, for a time, try diligently to make it clear and to make it plain upon the tables, that others might see it and run likewise. But many ultimately give up to just be it and live it. Lao Tzu certainly ended all attempts, as did Buddha, well, and even as did Jesus, ultimately because he was forced to quit talking about it. But the already is so simple. This idea is not grasped by metaphysical study, though metaphysics is helpful. This idea is not grasped out of laborious reading of the Bible, though reading of the Bible is helpful. This idea isn't grasped by lonely meandering through the woods all alone, enjoying the vistas and beauties of nature, though that is helpful too. This idea isn't grasped at all. It just is. And it breaks into consciousness every time the me sense is still. The gnosis lives. I tell you, it still lives. The Gnostic idea is very much alive. It has never gone away. In the early days of the formation of what we now call the Christian church, the Gnostic idea was not understood in exactly the same way that at this moment, at this instant, the intellect of us has an impossible time understanding the heart of us. Therefore, the Gnostic idea was called heretical. Its followers were heretics, and they were drummed out of the church. But the idea lives. It preceded the formation of Christianity. It will follow all philosophies. It will live forever, the heart of us, fully understanding all there is about churchdom. And you know, this is the interesting thing. The intellect of us doesn't understand the heart at all. Yet the heart of us understands the intellect to the hilt, completely, fully, totally. The gnosis, or the Gnostic idea, or the solipsistic idea, the heart idea, fully understands the human need for organization. It understands it completely, to the hilt. Yet the organizational idea, oh, cuckoo, says the organizational idea. The organizational idea doesn't understand the non-need for organization. It can't understand the heart idea, the gnosis, the knowledge that light already is the fact, and it will never understand it. Yet, understanding and not understanding are two that are one. And it is both ends of that dualism are transcended by wisdom, infinite omniscience, which is the warp and woof to all that we term intellectual knowledge and all that we might term heart knowledge. Yes, yes, yes. Of all the words, I think yes is among the most beautiful. How wonderful to be able to utter that word when finally something dawns within the heart of us and we say, yes. Oh, but that word covers the whole gamut of human existence. Will you be my friend? Someone asks. Yes. And then we call someone we love, are you there? Yes, we hear the reply. Or we ask the question, will you go with me? Yes. Will you hold my hand? Yes. We hear a child ask, is that you, Dad? Yes. Hey, Mom, is that you? Yes, yes. Are the flowers blooming? Yes. Is the sunshine bright? Yes. Yes, sweet word of acquiescence. Gentle word of tenderness, isn't it? Soft word of love. Yes, yes. Is an exuberant word, too, of enthusiasm and gladness. Yes, like a dandelion alone in a sea of grass. Like a yellow burst of spring upon a daffodil. Yes. Yes. Everything is all right with the world, despite hostages and despite abortive attempts to rescue them, despite the fear that everywhere prevails. Everything is all right. And fearlessness is made plain.